Subscribe, love, like. We're sponsored by the Spunk Lube and rebroadcast by the Demon Seed Radio Network. We could not do any of this without you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us that bump. Porn Stars are People. I am your host, Dan Frigolette. This is a podcast. I'm here with Sophia Grace. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your gusto and enthusiasm. You're traveling. You're like you said, you've been on multiple vacations during COVID. I don't know what that means. You need to explain your life to me.
So I was kind of bored of LA. Like I'm such a travel bug. Like I had a feature dancing contract and I was on every single week for like the past, 6 months before COVID. And then COVID happened and kind of like life just kind of went away.
Yeah.
And I wasn't used to not traveling. So after like a couple of months of being stagnant in LA, I was just like, dude, I got to get out. So I just started traveling to places I could. And so like I'd been doing like a lot of like road trips. I was hiking 10 miles a day.
No shit.
Like 5 hours to go hiking 10 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I started like going bi-coastal back to like Charlotte to see like friends and family and kind of like just like chill out because it's the first time in 6 years I've just been like had nothing to do.
Right. So lots of things, many things to ask you about. I'm going to go in order of my brain.
Hey, brain.
What does it look? So I had as a comedian, I had a bunch of gigs canceled, right? So what did it look like for feature dancing? How soon did you know probably that it's out? And then how did they tell you? And then what did they like promise you moving forward?
So basically it was kind of shitty. I had a really big gig, at Spearmint Rhino on my birthday weekend. So basically the night.
So when was that?
When was that? Say what?
So wait, when was that and which Spearmint Rhino?
Spearmint Rhino in Ventura, and it was March 20th and 21st. I was going to have friends from Charlotte fly out. I was having friends from New York, Spain. All these people were going to come out to like come just like chill with me and see me like perform because like I made it a big deal. And then as that date started approaching, there was like speculation that it was going to get canceled.
Right, we could feel it, right.
And I was super bummed because I'm like, everybody's bought their plane ticket. And here I am, like, without anything. And then finally, like, I think on like the 18th, they told me they're like, nope, we're not having it. And, it's kind of canceled until further notice. My billboard, however, fun fact, is still on the 101.
That's great.
I've been there since March, so it's free advertising.
That's all right. Yeah, that's all right. I mean, they're paying for it, right?
Yeah, so basically all my other shit just got like completely torn to shit.
Yeah.
And they said that, they can't really promise anything until life is back to normal because strip club policies, why am I going to wear a mask when I'm performing on stage? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. Nobody's looking at your face though, are they?
Maybe people have face fetishes.
I have never heard it phrased that way. Face fetish? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you don't look at anything else but the face when people are into that.
I believe that. Okay, what was the other 19 questions I had as follow-ups? I want to get to the big one, but I want that to be a big part of it, but I don't want. So wait, how did you handle everybody canceling? And that was that moment, that March. I remember that moment. Like everything was pending. And it felt like the world, like I knew, I was supposed to visit people that next weekend. I was like, I'm not leaving Hoboken because I don't know if I'll be able to come back. Yeah. So them telling you 2 days before is shitty. But at that point, had everybody kind of bailed already?
No. So like my best friend was still going to come out and like my guy, like obviously we live together, and so he actually will not go into a strip club nor will be involved in anything sex work related.
Right.
So he was kind of just like, you know what, like even if you did have that gig, like I wouldn't go. Like I'd go to Ventura during the day to hang out with you guys, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'll make it the best birthday of your life. Like it's cool. Like we'll have a quarantine birthday. And my best friend, like, I told her, don't come. It's not worth it. Next thing I know, he's sick as fuck. Kicked it out of
No.
bed on my birthday, and I'm like, are you serious? And he was like, go hang out with other people. And I'm like, I would have totally had done something differently.
Oh, so your guy got fucked up, not COVID, but was
Not
just sick,
COVID.
and so you were just left
I was
with.
just left to the wolves, but I ended up having a good night. It was just like, I just did it without him. I was like, all right, deuces.
Yeah.
But
Wait.
it was really unfortunate, like the whole situation, because, it's like it's a lot of money on the line to lose all of those gigs for the whole entire year. And then you have to learn how to make your money. Like, okay, to be fair with you, like, I'm not an online person. I don't like camming. I don't
Right.
like spending 10 hours a day on my phone. Like, I like living in the moment. So feature dancing gave me the opportunity to like just be present.
Right.
And so then life quickly changed and I was not ready for having to do everything online. That was
Yeah.
my big problem.
Yeah. Same thing. It's like I didn't realize how connected to people I was becoming through the comedy part of tour, like touring part of comedy rather. But it is like the whole thing because that connection like that. I've seen the feature dancing spots and it's like if you're good at it, that the whole connection that you're getting and then all the extra revenue with the merch that comes from it is a whole other, but it's a whole experience.
It was
But yeah.
great. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was, like I love shooting, don't get me wrong, but like I had never found something I actually really, really, really love to do on a whole other level. Like,
Right.
you make so much money for being on stage for like 15 to 20 minutes and like you make that in a day shooting. And
Right.
it's like finally all your hard work is paid off and like, you're just interacting with different people because I think it gets boring interacting with the same like group of industry people.
Yeah, well, and then also they came up with this term Zoom fatigue since we've had this thing, and it's like the idea is like because you don't get any like real human like interaction like back from people by just talking into a screen all day. It's like it's like a little bit soul crushing, and it's like or what did I say, Zoom fatigue. You just get like it just drains you because you're like putting all your energy and all your emotions into it. You get nothing back. Whereas on stage, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
People throwing shit, people whatever. But so wait, with the feature dancing thing for the people that don't understand how it works, the are you making most of your money on merch, on tips, or just straight like whatever you agreed with the club?
No, I'd say like it depends on the club. Like certain clubs are um, like cash clubs, like tips are really good. Some clubs are not. Some are
Yeah.
just like, you're getting a rate, but they have really good exposure. Like, okay, say you're going to Sapphire in Vegas. That is more like a club where cash tips aren't as good as what you're just going to make for your actual show. So just like understand, you're probably just going to make, a couple $100 on stage when sometimes you can make like way more than that at other clubs.
Yeah.
And then, selling merch is kind of unexistent at Sapphire Vegas because it's more like a nightclub than anything.
Right.
Um, they don't really make it specifically for feature dancers. They just want them to get on stage and want them off stage and want them out.
Yeah, I've seen that vibe in New York. It is interesting because it's like as a performer, like the value for me is as much stage time as I can get. And then with Sapphire, it's like we'll get you to town, we'll fly you in, we'll put you in the hotel, but like most of the day is not the club. Most of the day is like the logistics of there. You get there, you get on stage, you get off. It's done. It's that fast. And it's I think that's an interesting that's an interesting experience because it like you say, it's like just 15 minutes, but it's like it ends up being like it's 36 hours of work that you put into those 15 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't end. It's like costume shopping. I'm not a night person actually, so being up
Interesting.
late is really hard for me because I don't drink, I don't party, so
Yeah.
it's a really interesting dynamic, and also too it was really crazy because right before I ended up with a feature dancing contract and I started dating my guy, he was nocturnal. So
What
I
what does
huh?
he do?
He was trying to get into comedy, but basically like it's kind of like an influencer on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, No big deal. Also, too, he's kind of like just trying to figure out like what's next, because like he wants to do something more. He was, a recovering addict, so
Right.
basically like he wants to tell his story as well as I do about that type of shit because like dating that is a very hard thing while also being in the industry and trying to like manage everything all at once.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, it's that's the other thing with like performers and stuff. It's like for so many years they were pushing performers to be addicts because like they want to because if you can get a performer to like get paid in booze or drugs, that's better because then you have to give them cash. And so a lot of industries have finally like people have gotten a lot more sober in the last like I'd say 10 years because it's like no, we need money like any other job. So people are getting better at that. But it is, yeah. So it's like the nightclub can totally take you over with the like pay you in this barter thing. Wait, so you keep saying my guy. Like what's okay, so what's the like frame it out? What does it mean to be your guy? Like what's the bound? Like you're not calling him your boyfriend, you're not calling him your husband, you're not calling him your like what's the bounds of the scenario? Of
So
the entanglement, if you will.
It's so funny because I actually like I stay very private about, personal relationships like that I've had within the industry because I think that, I always want to maintain a sense of normalcy.
Right.
Because first of all, I just think that like people don't respect boundaries within the industry. So if I bring like, a guy around, it's like everybody's on top of each other. And although, like, I love sex, I love to fuck, like, also, too, when we're not working, like, we're at an event and I'm not trying to, like, have you all over my person.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I kept it very private and also, too, just because, like, backlash, like, I don't want anything to, like, go to anybody's families. But basically, him and I, we never wanted a relationship ever. Like, we're both kind of in the same boat. I'm like, I just want to, be on my money grinding train. I had a really big goal and then I wanted to like stop in the industry and just like start investing in real estate.
Yeah.
So I was on a very tight mission, like going on tours, going um doing poker parties, like doing all this stuff. And so I had no time for any type of relationship. So
Sure.
basically, him and I, we kind of just were on the same page. And he actually used to be with somebody in the industry that's actually very well known. And he said he would never date anybody in the industry again.
Right.
So we kind of like had to deal with that for a little bit because, I'm in the industry. So, it kind of just evolved. But I don't like the terminology like my boyfriend, my husband, my
Yeah.
this, because then I
I think
think it's possessive.
it's kind of gross. It is possessive. I don't believe in people as possessions, and it's hard because everybody else is in this other zone. Because as soon as you're possession, then it's like you owe somebody something, and you're supposed to like you have to be all these other things for them,
Yeah,
and it doesn't make them or you ever be just you, which
exactly.
we've skipped that part. So okay, so well, but you're still like there's still some level. It's my guy. It's there's a lot whatever the title is, it exists. But no, I get you on this thing. As a like from the performer perspective, it's always difficult to put somebody that you're dating on like the social media part of my life is supposed to be somewhat public, and then the other part of my life, the important shit's supposed to be somewhat private. So you don't put them on there. It's also like in my like history, none of my relationships have lasted forever. So it's like if I'm all in the camera with the person and then it goes away, then I got a whole other explanation thing to do.
Yes.
So when it's forever, you can get on my goddamn story.
And also too, like when you kind of are with somebody that's a wild card, you just like you never know. And also too, I'm a wild card. Like
Sure.
I never know. Like I'm all over the place. I'm super spontaneous. Like one moment I want to live in America, the next moment I want to live in Spain. If you're not about it, we don't have a relationship
Yeah.
because I'm still gonna go. Like I'm that person. So I just like I've learned in life that, nothing lasts forever because we all die alone eventually. And so I mean, like you can be with somebody until the day you die, but like eventually you're still alone. So you have to be okay with being alone before you can be with
Yeah.
somebody
You
and
got to
have
be. Yeah.
trust.
Right. You got to be yourself. Right. You got to know who that is. And a lot of people don't know who that is. And as a lot of people are like terrified to be by themselves. That's what like that really came up. That comes up in like blizzards, but it really came up in quarantine was people just like, I'm afraid to be alone. Let me find whoever's the closest to me now that I can make it work with and
Oh
lock
yeah.
it down.
They were all going on Tinder or Bumble and trying to find like the nearest little cuddle buddy. And I'm over here, I'm like, okay, great. So I have one, but like also too, shit's getting really rough because like, as a recovering addict in quarantine, what do you think happens? What do you think is like reality? Like it gets hard. The gym is taken from you. All your normalcy is like just gone.
Right.
So then it's like a lot of stress, and then you're like, okay. I'd actually, me personally, I'm like, all right, if I was alone right now, I think like I'd be way more zen from the beginning.
Yeah.
But also too, I like to be alone.
Yeah, but it was a hopeless alone this round. Because it was like I'm alone and I don't know what the fuck's happening next because the world is on fire. And then like what can we do about it? Like everything that I thought I built up as skills that is going to make me good in the world now are irrelevant skills, which was wild. It's a
Yeah,
wild thing to.
you gotta learn more. You have to like, now is the time to invest in cryptocurrency. Now is the time to invest in stocks and do all of that because I think personally, with the way the world is going, it's like, Bitcoin is going to be the new currency that's going to be like the number one thing, which is why people are buying it left and right. So it's like instead of focusing all your energy on trying to become like TikTok famous or something like that, start investing your money in on something that's actually growing, and then you'll be fine. And then you have an abundance of crypto so that if new world order or anything like that happens, which, there could be a possibility. I think this world is going to shit, to be honest with you.
We're right there. We're right there.
Like,
How
if
did you
you
know
know
that I was
my
trying to become TikTok famous? That's what I'm trying to.
Well, if you're trying to become TikTok famous, you need to post like 4 times a day. And then invest all your fucking money that you make off of TikTok, put that shit in crypto.
TikTok's a cock block. TikTok's a cock block. I was watching a video yesterday where they're swearing. It was I F this and sucking that and whatever, and they're doing a dance to it. And I'm like, okay, cool. TikTok doesn't have like restrictions. And then I put a video up, and they blocked me for doing community standards, and I didn't swear once. So I don't know what's going on with TikTok. I'm being cock blocked by TikTok. Sore subject. I'm on Donald Trump's team for TikTok all of a sudden. I'm like, yeah, get that shit out of here. I can't figure it out. Time to ban TikTok. It's over for me.
Just make another TikTok and then just join the natural algorithm. Once you get on the algorithm, that's like all you have to do.
Just ride the wave?
Just ride the wave. Like I got on the algorithm and then I just fucked up and I didn't ride the wave. I just got really obsessed with all the sad videos on TikTok and
yeah, well, because it knows you. So it's like I remember when I first got on, and I was like asking people, I was like, is your TikTok just like barely legal girls dancing with like size 0? And they were like, no, that's you, bro. You got to get out of there. And now it's all like, yeah, now it's all weird dog videos where they just come in and they like poke their owner. So that's my new TikTok. Wait,
yeah,
what's your sad TikTok?
So. Mine's weird. Like mine is like hopeless from like relationships, like loving yourself, and then like addicts.
Wow. What's the addict story on TikTok like?
Oh my God, it's honestly really crazy. Like, I actually thought about starting to like make a TikTok page, even like as like my performer self of like what it's like to date somebody that's a recovering addict.
Yeah.
Because the journey is so intense. It's so up and down. You never know what's gonna happen. And like, my brother and my dad, they were addicts. My brother still, he OD'd. And so like my dad died when I was 10. But he ended up getting sober at 28 and like becoming very successful. But the thing is like I have a soft spot for like, people that struggle or that are recovering. They all tend to like follow me. But I like to go on TikTok and see all that stuff because it's like I see a lot of like homeless people that are posting their story on TikTok, going from like, grocery carts to like having really big houses, or losing all their family, and now like 6 months clean, now they're getting their family back. And it's really beautiful to see. And I think that it's really overlooked because a lot of people just like shame, people that suffer with addiction, but it's also
Right.
like we all have our things that we're addicted to in life.
So you feel like your journey is connecting to people that are addicts that are on their way up to change?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
there's obviously the other trajectory. So do you think there's like a nostalgia to, like, because you said like these people keep finding you, but aren't you in some way, like, aren't you the other side of the magnet? Like you're the thing that's attracting, or when you feel that in another person, doesn't that drive you closer to them? Do you think?
To be honest, it drives me away.
Sure.
um, just because you can't save people that don't want to be saved. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink at the end of the
Sure.
day. So typically when it comes to addicts, like, it's like you remain distant because if they're in their addiction, it's, they have to do that on their own. But I'm going to tell you, if they're like year, 2 years, 3 years sober, okay, great. That's awesome. Like, I'll totally befriend you because you know what, we all struggle, and now I see that like you're changing and you're growing. But the thing is that if you're active in your addiction, it just comes down to you're gonna fuck my life up.
Yeah. What do you find? Do you find that people, um, like, can you spot the lie? Like, can you feel that moment when somebody is like, they know you've now come to the point where they know that it will matter to you if they slip up, and then they start slipping up, but then trying to play it like they're not. Like, can you feel that moment when somebody starts to lie to you?
Yeah, so it's actually quite funny, and it's an experience that, like, I actually had in my own personal dynamic, during quarantine, actually. And I noticed there was some, like, weird things going on, and I had intuition. Like, I'm like, there's something that's just really wrong here.
Right.
Like, and then you start to get, like, you're a crazy person. Like, you're
You
the
start to doubt
issue.
yourself.
Yeah. And then I'm like, wait. I'm wise. Also, too, I don't do drugs. I don't smoke weed. I don't like really even drink. So like, I know I'm thinking like 100% coherently about
Right.
everything. And also, too, like I've been on a really big spiritual journey for like the past 8 years of my life. So, I meditate on the daily and I do yoga on the daily. So I think that makes me really in tune with other people's energies. So once I see certain things, because I observe everything, I'll just notice right then and there that you're lying. But then it comes down to, they can get manipulative and they can gaslight you and make you feel like you're the issue. And then you just start to think, okay, well, my intuition's just bullshit. But what I've learned is that you need to always trust it. Like, even when you don't want to trust it, you have to, because, it comes down to what's going to happen in your life. Are you going to get affected by it next, or what?
Right. Yeah, it is. It's tough because the only thing I've really learned as I grow older is like everything is a pattern, and these patterns repeat themselves. So like even down to like the way, like the types of messages that I get on Instagram from strangers are all sort of in like one of three categories. And so for the same from the same effect, it's like you could meet somebody and they're not the person that you dated that had this other problem, but if they start to exhibit some of the same behaviors, it's like you start to recognize that thing. And it's like we're very, very like repetitive creatures, and not even on purpose. Like there's a lot of things that like people don't know that they're doing, that is just a piece of history, and this is the way that it goes. And once you recognize those and have confidence in the fact that you know what they are, it helps you to kind of like get away from some of the mess. But the worst thing I've had to deal with is like when you know that the thing is there, and you just all you want is the person to confirm it, and they will die before they confirm it for you. And you got to trust your gut, cuz yeah.
You have to trust your gut, and also too, you have to accept people where they are. And that doesn't
Right.
even come down to like, addiction. That comes down to anything in life. Is that, when people are ready to talk, they're gonna talk. Some people are open, some people are closed. Some people think that they're gonna be, shamed for anything that they decide to do in their life. And so whatever you think or wherever you are, I have to respect you and I have to respect your vibe. So if you don't want to come out to me, I know within myself what's good. And, I've learned that in friendships, like in my own family relationships and personal relationships. It's like, I'm a big talker. I like to talk through things. I need to communicate, but also too, like, I operate at a deeper level. Like, I just feel things so deeply that if I don't, I feel like I'm not being authentic to myself to talk about it. But other people aren't like that, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
that's like, it's expectation. People think that you have to be some type of way and you have to talk about something or you have to like be affectionate or you have to do this, but it's not. It's just like, it's what life has made it all out to be in my mind, my opinion.
Yeah, well, cause right. I mean, all the things you said. It's like you're never going to make somebody connect with you the way that you need them to. They're still going to be them, and you got to find some middle ground on that. Or just go, this is who they are, and understand what their pattern is, and understand that this behavior might be the way that they show love, and then try to understand that, even if it doesn't like get you to where you need to get to. But so I guess my question is, at this point in your life, when somebody is at that mark where you kind of know what the next pieces are, do you detach or do you try and like get them out of traffic? Like, do you try to push them out of the, or do you just bail? Like,
I
what's
don't
the right move?
I don't bail necessarily, but I think, okay, so say, you're in a toxic relationship, right? For instance, if you're in a toxic relationship with somebody and I see all the signs and I'm like, yo, this is there, and like your life is about to get fucked and you don't listen to me, I'm going to let you do you. I'm going to let you experience your pain. You have to experience your own pain because for me, it's like you're not going to learn any lessons and you're going to repeat the same things and get hurt over and over and over
Yeah.
again. So it's like it's coming to terms with accepting whatever it is. Like, I had to come to terms with, that the addiction thing that he was at a point where he wasn't wanting to change. And I had to like detach and be like, you know what? Like, I got to step back. I love you, but also too, you need to feel your own addiction. You need to feel what's going on because I can't change you. Like,
Right.
I love you unconditionally. And no matter what, like, I have love for everybody. But also too, it's tough love. It's like, it, it's, wow, that thunder. It's not, you're never gonna grow if you don't actually feel what happens and like who you can lose in the process of like the decisions that you make.
Yeah, well, I think one of the hardest parts of life is having not an unrealistic expectation, but having like a standard for somebody else that you think they should have for themselves that they're never going to try and meet. And it's like no, I have you here, you're so here, and you think you're here, and you're never, we can't ever meet. So you only put yourself in situations to like meet this middle level that you can achieve beyond, and that's always but it's like it means you can't, yeah, you can't force it upon them, and you can't make them understand that whole piece at all.
Yeah. Also, too, I mean, it's like at one moment you're one person, and then over time you change. Every day you're constantly changing and evolving. So
Yeah.
who's to say 1 week from now you're not going to think differently? Who's to say that like you may not feel differently? So like, well, how am I supposed to hold you to a certain expectation? If you tell me you're going to do something, I put my trust in it that you're going to do it. And if you don't do it, yeah, sometimes I get like, butthurt, but also too, I understand that at the end of the day, we're evolving creatures and like outside influences will always influence our mind to like think differently.
You say that, you say it a lot that we change, and I don't know, do you really feel like even as much as you've grown, do you think you're like at the soul of what comes naturally and what are instincts to you? Do you think that's changed over time?
I think it's evolved.
Yeah.
I guess that would be kind of like a change, right? Like, I think that, maybe it's not necessarily change, but it's really like uncovering who you actually are
Right.
and coming closer to that. was there for like in, terms of like if you were to look at me 1 year from now, I've changed. But, in my eyes, I've just come closer to the actual version of myself. Like right now in my life, I'm the most vulnerable part of myself. I've uncovered many layers of myself and I've learned to be open and honest. And, that to me is a big change in my life. But that's also too, I'm realizing I'm just coming closer to who I am at the
Right.
core of me. And I think some people go their whole life without even knowing their
Right.
like core.
Well, I think everybody knows, but I think we spend time denying it based on whatever we thought was like important when we were kids, and like that stays sort of forever. And it's hard because whatever you stored as a value, you can't unstore that, and it's really hard to change that. And you don't know why you feel that way. And if you inside don't like align with that thing, it's like a life struggle. Um, and sexuality is always a big one. And the easiest one for people to understand is like just somebody who never is out, and it's like because of all the societal things. But there are so many other pieces of a person that maybe are never out. Um,
Absolutely. I mean, sexuality was like huge in my life because, like growing up in the South, for instance, like that, it's very close-minded here.
yeah,
And I didn't want to come out because I didn't even know what I was in the beginning. Like,
sure,
my mom, this girl kissed me in my driveway and my mom walked out. I didn't kiss her first. She
right,
kissed me. And next thing I know, my mom is standing right there and I'm having this conversation that I really did not intend to have because I wasn't certain that I was 100%, bisexual.
right.
Um, and so like and I had to like live with that, and I didn't for a really long time, like
So that
like
moment, does that send you like off as like now you're like actively openly in your mom's face straight as a result, or what is that? What does that send you? What trajectory does that send you in to have that moment with your mom?
that moment with my mom like made her view me as like obviously bisexual, but also too it was like that moment, like my mom said, at least you have good taste in women.
Ha,
But like to be honest, after I had that conversation, like I could see the hurt in my mom's eyes because she's really religious and she wants me to have a family one day and all of that stuff. And so for a really long time, like I just kind of like made myself feel bad about being who I was. But my mom didn't make me feel bad about being who I was, if that makes sense. It was just I had that pressure because I was religious at the time and I
yeah.
didn't think it was okay.
And it's not that she's not, um, because like your family can not, they don't have to active, and that's what's crazy about like growing up. Like you don't have to actively have somebody poking at you. You have a little bit of, you have like a voice in your head where you know what you want, but you have this other voice that says, oh, but like all these people want something else, and that voice is like just talking to you the whole time and trying to like disregard this voice, and that's like legitimately like what growing up is you're just trying to fight these two.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, after like I came clean to my mom, or I guess like I came clean. There was no coming clean because I didn't even know. But
Right. You said you didn't understand really where you were,
yeah,
but
so
you're also like I can't deny that happened.
yeah, and I can't deny the fact that like my mom knew that I liked it in that moment because she could see
Right.
what was happening. But it made me go
So you
off.
owned it though. You took responsibility for it, which is actually pretty huge for being young.
I owned it, but then also too, like I started partying a lot after that. Like, I lost myself after that. Like I was in porn and it was like, you know what, let me fuck the whole world. Like not,
Yeah.
not just on set, but like just in life in general. And like, let me do a ton of like, drugs and shit like that to try to like make it okay.
Well, how
Make
old are you at this point?
I was 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like, and also too, like I wasn't aware of what Hollywood was like, so like I was just living my best life in my eyes, but honestly, I was destroying myself, and so it wasn't until I actually accepted my sexuality that my life became great.
Yeah.
Um, now I know in my heart, like, what I want. And I always tell people all the time, it's like, I love women. Absolutely love them. I adore them. Don't know if I could ever date one ever again in my life because, it's just, there's certain things that I would miss in a man that, like, I need. And I'm a very dominant person, so I need someone to out dominate me. And, like,
Oh, I thought you were gonna go the other way. Okay.
no. And so, like,
So you're like, well, so because so you're very dominant, so you need to feel that, or you think you're gonna run amok if somebody can't.
if somebody can't out dominate me, then I just, like, they can't fuck me. Like, I won't let them. And so then I never get mine. And then I'm the top. And then I'm just like, there's no switching because, like, you're like my little bitch at that point. And so, like, there's been maybe one or two women in my life where it's been like, you can out dominate me and good for you. But also, too, I always said, like, if I dated a woman, it'd have to be like an open relationship because I still love men.
Yeah.
But
And thank you for calling us men and not dick. I was worried you were gonna say I love dick, and that's where a lot of these conversations go. It's like, no, we're like all of us. You can't just not just the dick, all
no,
of them.
all
Thank
of you is important, not
Thank
just your dick.
Yeah.
Just your. If you were talking to me 4 years ago, I'd say you're just dick. But I've
Right.
evolved a little bit since that moment. But yeah, I mean, like, honestly, once my sexuality came out and, like, I was open about it. Like, I stopped partying. I really found myself. I went to yoga school in Nepal. Like,
Shit.
I was out there for like 2 months, and that, like, completely changed my life. I didn't masturbate. I didn't have sex. I didn't do anything. I just did yoga 8 hours a day and
Yeah.
just, like, studied the life.
This literally, all he does is yoga 8 hours a day is like it's like a fun, like it's like a heckle that I feel like people say all the time, like jokingly, but that's a real thing.
Yeah, it was a real thing, and it was a really hard thing. Just
Yeah.
imagine waking up at like 4:15 in the morning to go neti pot in the Himalayan mountains, and you see, like, water coming out of one nostril of your nose, and then, like, you have to do it on the other end, and then sit there and do it for about 30 minutes before you go do 8 hours of yoga, and you're sore as shit after, and you're eating raw vegan Indian food, basically.
Right.
So imagine how your stomach feels being right next to Mount Everest.
Wait, why do you have to neti pot? What's the neti pot piece? You said that like we knew that was like what a thing that's part of 8 hours of yoga. I didn't know that was a thing.
So I mean, like, okay, in, like, yogi tradition, basically, they always say that, like, you want to make sure that your passageways are open and clear. So the thing is when you use a neti pot and you either do it with warm water or you put like salt inside of it,
Yeah.
then you're getting all the toxins out of your nose because your nose collects, like, within the hairs of it. So it's like it gets all of that out, it gets all of the pollen out, and also, too, it wakes you up. It, like, basically wakes up your chi inside of yourself. So once you're, like, through with that, that's, like, better than having 3 shots of espresso, essentially.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah, like, your brain is waking up and then you're ready to fucking breathe, and yoga is all about breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the part that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is I'll be doing it, and then anybody who, like, has anything, they're like, you're not breathing at all. Like, you're not doing it. I'm like, no, but you're not doing it. You're not breathing. You got to do the breathing part. That's the most important part.
Yeah, you could be in, like, downward dog, and if you're not breathing, like, it's pointless to be in downward dog because, like, you're not activating the muscles inside your body. And, like, a lot of people look at yoga as, like, a workout, and to me, it's so much more than that. It's a thing that changed my life, so I take it very serious. It's like, if you can't master your breath, you can't master life.
Yeah. Interesting.
Like, we all breathe, so shallow. Typically, like, you breathe from your chest. You don't breathe from the pit of your stomach. If you breathe from the pit of your stomach, you don't have anxiety.
Yeah. I think everybody watching now is going to be like thinking about their breathing. Like, think about your breath. Control your breath. I get in that weird one where, like, when I was a kid, I would think about my breath too much, and then I would, like, I would forget the rhythm that my body already wants to breathe in. Does that ever happen? Right? And you're just like, how am I supposed to? And then it does, and then you feel shallow. Now with the masks too, it's hard. It's like because the tendency is to want to breathe shallow. And then and with the mask, you get the heat. It's just like a mind fuck. Cause it's like, all of the muscle memory to breathe is now like, called into question.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think, people don't like my perspective on COVID or the things that are happening in the
Let's
world.
do it. Let's do it.
It's very controversial for sure. So I think like COVID is definitely like something that is more political than anything, because if you actually look at the articles that are coming out nowadays, it's like, okay, CDC falsified tests. People that are dying and that had COVID, they died with COVID. It doesn't mean that they died from COVID. Like they could have had a heart attack, but they tested positive for COVID. So now they're saying, oh, okay, well, you know what? COVID made you die, but in reality, it didn't. You just had it.
Well, let me ask you, because the thing I'm finding lately is that some of the, like in the conspiracy stuff, some of the initial argument makes a lot of sense, but then with that line of thought that you're at, right, where if you died, and I don't know the facts on either side of this, so I'm not disagreeing with you or agreeing with you, but if that was the scenario, then what do they have to gain from that? And part B, if that's true, then what does that mean for the virus? That, like, if still this many people had it and died and got it, which I didn't get it, you didn't get it, right? Um, then that doesn't make the disease any less prevalent, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, okay, so like my thing is that, okay, um, I think that it has a lot of things. I think it has something to do with the election that's coming up. I think that, it's a really good ploy to be like, okay, you know what? We're going to give Americans the stimulus checks and we're going to offer Americans unemployment. And we're going to make it seem like Donald Trump is like this greatest thing in the world because he's the one that's activating all of these relief programs, right? But then, why is it that we can't leave the country, or why is it that we can't even go to like certain parts of the country when
Sure. And I don't disagree with any of that. And I think that's a separate part of the same discussion. But from the standpoint of, if somebody dies
yeah.
of something else and we mark it as COVID, what's the win, I guess, is what I'm asking.
I think that the win is a sense of control for the people, sense of fear. I think that it causes like way more fear for people to be like, you know what, I'm here and I'm not going outside because so many people are dying from this every single day. But in reality, it's like, people die from the flu. People die more from heart disease and everything. So it's like, I think that it's, we've become like American prisoners that are at home. I think that um, it's like now it's gotten to a point because every time somebody new dies, more and more people would be willing to like walk into a concentration camp if they knew that Corona wasn't there. It's like just I think
I
more
think you're
so.
getting to I think you're getting to some really solid stuff. I think some of the pieces are hard to, like, I'm with you at the end game, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is more important, because especially now, more than ever, people were squabbling about the middle game, which it doesn't matter, right? It's like, if we all get to the same home base, it doesn't really matter which math we used, right? Like there's 100 different ways to solve a math problem. So I will say that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's tough because all those things are facts, right? I mean, we're stuck. We're stuck in this thing. Um, but I don't know. None of that really changes the fact that the U.S. we're doing the worst job of it, right?
Yeah, but also too, if you like look at the way Europe did it, certain parts of Europe didn't go on like a massive, massive lockdown, and they were able to control it just fine. Sweden was able to control it just fine, and they haven't had like any spread of corona with like in 3 months. And they
Yeah.
were shut down for 1 week. We were shut down for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're still kind of shut down, but
And
like,
were we and but like was anybody really doing any of the right things? That's the I saw a video yesterday that made me realize like the realities of kind of what's happening. And somebody was like their parody video was like yeah, it's like I haven't been going anywhere, and they just start listing all the places that were like high danger places to go. And it's like, but it's not. It's like we went to Disney World, but it's like, what am I gonna do now? Bring my kids to Disney World? And it's like all this thing, and I think we all need to be more honest about how we're putting ourselves at risk. Not you and me, right? But like there's a whole other chunk of people that are saying they're doing the thing and maybe aren't. Are they? Are we as Americans really doing it?
see, but that's also the thing. I don't believe in masks. Like, I
Right.
actually don't. So I'm probably like the worst person to talk to about this because everybody hates my opinion on it. I think masks do more harm to yourself than
Right.
they do good. Like, yes, they're protecting like other people from you, but also to like think about this. How many people are starting to break out on like, their face now? Why is
Right.
that? Because now bacteria is growing on your face. Do you think that's actually good for you? Do you think that breathing in your own carbon dioxide is good for your body? Absolutely not. And even if you had an N95 mask, which is great, like it's great breathing, but also too, they get really dirty and the bacteria buildup becomes so heavy in a matter of just like hours that you have to change it out
Right.
like
Yeah, we're not even using
couple
even if
hours.
even if the mask thing was the way it's supposed to be, we're not doing it the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, they say that like COVID dies out at 170 something degrees. Abanya, which is like the hottest Russian sauna, goes up to 213 degrees.
So
So
fucking saunas for everybody.
why is it that saunas are not like able to go unused? Because disease can't even last in a sauna. Like,
Right.
people go to sauna to get rid of their sickness. So we're not even able to go to a sauna. And people also don't even know what to be taking, like what kind of supplements. Like, we're not doing a good job in being like, you know what, these are the holistic methods to prevent us from actually getting this,
Sure.
virus.
Right.
And I think that it also comes very big into like big pharma.
Oh, I
Like,
agree with all of this that you're saying. Yeah, because we don't have a solution. Yeah. We don't have any yeah. So we all the pieces are there. And we could definitely talk about this for like another hour and a half. But we're sick of it. They're sick of it. Let's skip it.
yeah,
Um so wait, you keep saying that people don't like your opinion. There's plenty of people that I think like are on board with what you're saying. But so you're in North Carolina now. Do you find that talking to people in North Carolina more aligned with with some of what you're saying than back in California?
yes, for sure. I mean, and it's funny because people are more small-minded out here, so you would assume that it'd be other way. But actually, in California, people are just like really paranoid because they don't have as much lands. They feel like they're on top of each other. Also, too,
Right.
it's like they work in entertainment mostly, and so they're
Right.
freaking out because their jobs are like destroyed. Whereas people out here are like, well, we're all essential workers, and we're just out here living our best life. And
Right.
also, too, you know what? If we die, we die. Because
There's that. Sure. Well, I don't know if I agree with we die, we die. That's fine. I think that's a weird life to lead that you're ready. I mean, I guess I'm ready. I guess if I died today, I accomplished everything I was supposed to accomplish up to this point. But then there is this other thing where it's like, yeah, people in North Carolina be like, I can go off grid. Fuck it. I can grow my own shit. I'm ready. I can go underground. I'm ready to do it. And I have that mindset now. Would you be ready to go underground right now?
oh, for sure. I've been talking about buying a house and making like a bunker inside of my house
Yeah.
and like creating like a whole apartment in my basement
Yeah.
that would be like fireproof, waterproof, because honestly, I feel like if like the world stays exactly the way that it is, it's gonna end up in a war pretty fucking soon because
Right.
people are getting angry. Like, money's not
Ooh,
being
yeah.
made. Like, we don't have social lives. Like, we're losing people. Like, everything that could possibly go wrong is going wrong. And a lot of like the movements and everything, I think they're fantastic, and I think that there is a lot of injustice, but also too, it's causing massive divides within people.
Yeah.
So I think that like just people are really naive to the fact of like what's actually going on. So I think that having stuff like that, I'm totally ready to just go under and have everything that I want underground.
Yeah.
And
I'm right there. I like, there's a part of me that loves that version of life, just being either underground or just being so far away from people that it doesn't even matter. Like the worst thing I got to worry about is like a bear or something, you know?
yeah, absolutely. I thought about like getting land in like Montana or something,
Right.
like just in the middle of nowhere and
Yeah.
having like an escape house.
Right. I'm so mad that I picked a career that's so like internet dependent. Like that's the one piece. It's like that piece of me that's so important to me is being funny not being able to do it on a large scale is the scariest part of like going off grid. And I don't know how to resolve that piece. Like I don't know. Like I'll just tell jokes to deer. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. You know.
I
But
think
that's
it's
the only thing that stops me from wanting all of that life.
I think it's just like becoming content with like, like being funny for yourself. And,
Maybe.
like
Maybe.
really just like, being like, okay, yeah, I'm a funny ass person. Like I do make people laugh, but right now, like let's make me laugh.
Yeah,
Let's
maybe. I mean, maybe that's what it is. It's like, yeah, I can make me come. That's enough, right? Like, what's the value of being able to be able to make anybody else come if you can't make yourself come? So it's that same vibe for comedy. As long as I think it's funny, I don't need the extra. But that's the problem with comedy and with sex. It's all about the interaction and making sure the other person is getting as much out of it as what you're out of it, and that's the hard part of the both
and
of our
it's funny
professions.
because I can't even make myself come.
Okay, that's
Like
not funny at all.
no, it's like it's fucking funny. Like I know how to make other people come, but my
Yeah.
problem that I've learned in my life is like, I can use a Hitachi, I can use all this stuff. I'll sit there for 3 hours trying to make myself come,
Yeah.
right?
Why?
But like if you were to try to make me come, 20 seconds, it's all right. It's because I need human connection.
Sure.
Like I thrive off of that. Like even if like, a very unattractive person is standing in the hallway, I'll be able to make myself come. But if I'm looking at a computer screen or something like that, no way. Like I have spank bank for sure, but like I don't know. There's just something so fascinating with the human body, and again, I think this goes and ties into like my spiritual like practices.
Yeah.
It's like I want to connect always. Like I always find sex to be such a great connection, and I've always tried to bring that into porn as well. Like shooting is just trying to heal people through my
Sure.
sex, which like some girls are like, yeah, fuck me daddy, let me be like your nasty little slut, and I'm like that too, but also too I do it in a way that's like super healing and
You're
like
like, let me fuck your soul.
yeah. So a lot of times people like after shooting with me, they're like, shit, I didn't like eye contact before, or like you actually made me feel really uncomfortable because it's super vulnerable, and like I felt
Yeah.
like a different place, and I'm like,
Right.
well, that's because like you're insecure with certain parts of you. But
Yeah.
I like sex that like it's really filthy, but like also too, um,
Well, because it's filthy because you can take it to the place where everybody's comfortable and confident. It's the same thing a good comedian can do with an audience. Is you get to that place where you've all agreed that we're all in a vulnerable place, and then you could talk about the shit, the real shit. And it's the same. It's the same analogy. It's crazy. Yeah. Every time. Yeah. That was like the weird thought I had starting this podcast was like all the linear shit, sex and comedy, sex and humor and trauma, all that shit just
yeah.
lines up every time.
Drama and being funny go hand in hand. People that are hurting like to be super funny. People that are hurting love to have sex. It gets you out of your head, and that's the
Yeah.
whole point. It's like watching Netflix. You do that because you want to get out of your head because you feel bored. And what's bored? It's being complacent. Like you really just don't feel okay with absolutely nothing. So you have to like indulge into something.
Yeah. Well, we've really taken it to a horrible place where you don't have to be connected to the shit that you're watching anymore, and that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I don't know. I'm not sure about like other people that come on this podcast, but like I get like super philosophical, so you can stop me at any time.
No, this is what I want. Yeah, this is what I want.
I just like I don't know. I just feel like too many people like they they're so scared of like their shadow self and like that negative place within themselves, or like they don't really think about why they actually do things that they do. Like I know why I'll drink a Coca-Cola,
Yeah.
like essentially why am I drinking it if like you can put it on an engine and what does it do? Like it can like
Sure.
road a fucking engine. Well, that essentially is called self-sabotage, even in like the smallest degree of it. It's like, essentially we have these things where it's like we could be super healthy, but we kind of don't take ourselves there because we have these guilty pleasures.
Well, and we also, I think it's a mortality thing, right? Like we want to see. It's even with drugs. It's like I know a certain level of drugs is gonna kill me, but I want to get real close so I can prove that I'm alive. Like that's
Yeah, you're telling me, oh my God, that is a thing I can't grasp my head around. I know like people like who have like unfortunately like messed around with some gnarly stuff. Like my brother, he used to use fentanyl and like heroin and
Jesus.
all of that stuff and like he
Yeah.
would shoot, but like he would never bring that shit around me. Like if I was anywhere close to that, he'd be like, don't smell that, don't touch it because it'll kill you, you'll overdose. And I'm like, so like if you're telling me that I'm gonna overdose and die, well, why are you putting that shit in your body? How does that
Right.
make any sense? You know exactly that it's going to end badly, and like you don't want that for me, but like you want that for you.
Well, so what have you found to be the logic of that? There isn't, right? It's like at that point in his life, his body is physically calling for it, right? And so there's no like there's no steps, there's no like argument, there's no like seven pieces of being able to like make him understand. He's like, no, I get it. I get that it's awful and I'm not gonna stop.
I think that comes down to people thinking that they have control over it still.
Sure.
They think that they can just get out of it and then it's going to be okay. But in reality, it's not okay. And they don't realize, like, okay, like, I know somebody who fucks around with that shit as well. And if, like, I tell them all the time, I'm like, the side effects to all this is this. And they're like, no, I don't. And I'm like, exactly. You're just pissing your life away at this point. Like,
Right.
research the drug that you do because you know what? Like, there's a reason why people are dying every single day, and people die more from opiates than any other like drug or alcohol, like in the world. But
Well,
I think,
it's because it's one of those ones where it's like this ends one way.
yeah,
You
but
go you go one stair step too far and this is how it goes.
but the problem with like opiates is that it literally depletes you so much more than anything else that like when you get out of like your addiction and you're trying to recover, um you literally can't feel pleasure like at all. There's like a disorder that you get after for like about a month where like you do not feel anything but just like a robot. Like you're just like your brain is just completely gone. And so people sometimes they can't get through that. And I think that's the reason. It's just like, how am I supposed to live through this 30 days of feeling like absolutely like nothing?
Right.
And
I'd
just
rather be back there. Right.
yes, I'd rather just like kill my body and like take, that day by day because at least I'm living. Because
It's
this
great.
isn't a form of living.
It's crazy because I have sort of the like that feeling that they have about not drugs that they're like given from a chemical perspective. That's how my brain thinks about doing drugs. Like every time I smoke weed, I'm like, is this gonna last forever? Which is what stops me from doing the next thing, right? And why I've been so like whatever prude or whatever you want to call it. What's straight edge, whatever the thing is, whatever skew. Every time my brain's going, this might be permanent, and you're saying the other side is them on the other side being like, if I'm not doing drugs, I'm gonna feel nothing forever, and I never processed that as a thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a trip because I'm the same exact way as you. I am like, oh, well, I see this. Like, what happens if this just goes completely south and then I'm fucked? And like, I'm not trying to get fucked. Like, even
Right.
though life may seem bad right now, it's going to be 20 times worse. Like, I just always like I'm a big optimist in life, but like honestly, when it comes to that, like I am the biggest pessimist and realist. I'm like, nope, I don't want to just do coke because like then I'm just gonna keep doing coke. I don't want
Right.
to. Why do I want to do that to my body if my body's my temple?
Well, what is it? It's interesting, right? Because you have that experience. You have like my parents. This is not comparable. I'm not saying our experiences are linear. But my parents smoked. So then the two options when people who had parents that smoked were start smoking immediately because whatever they're doing it. So like let's do it, or you go become so anti-smoking that like that becomes your vibe. And I think it's the same kind of thing with people who grow up with addicts. Is they're either gonna like fall in line or they're gonna like there's sort of no middle ground on the thing because you've seen the effect, right? So you either go totally against or you're just like fuck it, it's the same and I'm part of it and I can't control it and you give up to it. um
Absolutely. It's a really tough thing. And again, like, just have to meet people where you are. Like, my dad was a smoker. I would get strep throat every single time he smoked. I'm allergic to
Interesting.
cigarettes. Like, I cannot stand cigarettes. I can never be with somebody that smokes cigarettes. I don't even like when people smoke blunts around me. That's
Sure.
like that's a big trigger for me. I think, and a lot of people disrespect that about me. Like, they don't realize how serious I am. And I'm like, please don't smoke a fucking blunt around me. Like, if you like me, you will not do this because, like, one, I'm allergic to, tobacco. And secondly, like, I just don't like it. Like, it has bad memories for me. And you'd be surprised at how many people just are so inconsiderate and they're like, oh, it's just a blunt. Oh, it's just a
Right.
cigarette. And that to me it's so sad because it's like I'm so considerate. Like, even when it comes down to things such as like PDA in public, I'm not going to show PDA to my significant other in public
I
because
hate it.
I don't know if somebody else is going through a heartbreak right now, and I don't want to push someone over
Interesting.
the edge. Like, I know what it's like to be on that side of like having a heartbreak and like looking at someone and being like, fuck, I really wish that was like me, in those arms, and like it make me cry and stuff. I don't want to be
Wow.
the reason for anybody's tears. I want to be the reason that people smile and have joy and like love and life. So like I can take my shit and bring it back to my house.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my new excuse. It never feels natural. It never feels natural to be all over somebody in public. And I know I don't like it. And it's been something that's been trouble because it's like, oh, you're just like worried because there's other girls. It's like, no, there's not other girls. There's you and we're in public and it's weird. I just think it's weird. So I'm gonna use your excuse next time where it's like, no, somebody somebody might have a heartbreak nearby. So I don't wanna do that. You might have froze on my end. Back with Sophia Grace. I don't know why we lost you. Apparently, you're in the deep woods of North Carolina, and that sometimes makes us lose whatever we're doing. But thank you for coming back. Just in case we don't know what's going to happen, let's de-escalate. Well, okay. So first of all, you told me before this thing started, you're in North Carolina staying with somebody particular. Is this the guy we were talking about the whole time?
No,
This is
no,
different.
no. So like my guy, he's back in LA right now.
And where are you now?
I'm in Charlotte at my mom's ex-boyfriend's house.
Yeah. What the fuck does that mean?
It just means that, my mom dated this guy for, some time and they didn't work out, and him and I were way closer than they were.
Was he
And
like a father figure to you? Like, how old were you when you knew him?
this was like 7 years ago.
Okay.
So like,
is it a weird daddy fetish, you think?
no, but he's like the coolest fucking person. I talk about like, anal with him and like DPs and like all this crazy shit about like porn, and like he's just like super fucking like rad, and like it's really weird how like cool and like gross I can get without like being gross. But
Wait, so
like,
do you not have a sexual relationship? Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh, I thought okay. I'd miscategorized it already. Oh, so that's dope. So I appreciate that. I do like that. I do like that vibe. I had a weird vibe with a good friend of mine. I like met his mom, and she's 65 years older than me. No, she's 70. She's almost 80, and she was like, I met her, and she was like my soulmate, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but all I want to do is talk to you. And I had that vibe with like an adult that I shouldn't have had that vibe with. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
When it's weird like that, it's like I would go to where my buddy's mom is, and I'd be like, hey man, I think I'm gonna stay with your mom. Is that okay? Like, and it was like a little weird, but it was good for both of us.
That's hilarious. No, see, I love that. I think it's so cool, like when you can be like really open with like somebody, and also too, I think it's like really weird. My mom doesn't really like fuck with it too much, but I don't really care what my mom thinks,
Yeah.
that much. I'm a grown functioning adult. Also,
Right.
too, like I didn't talk to my mom for like 5 years, so it's
Based
like
on what was the beef? All right. In case we lost you, I'm gonna say this is the Porn Star People podcast. Thank you for listening and watching. We're on YouTube, Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, whatever thing you're on. We're on the other thing. Thank you to my guest Sophia Grace. I apologize. Check us out. We drop a new episode every Monday. Follow Sophia Grace.